Donald Trump has been taken hostage by the deep state. And before we knew it, he's ending up being the tool of the deep state. How did this happen? How in 77 days is he doing something as stupid, as immoral, as short-sighted, as impulsive, as starting a major conflict with the Assad government and getting exactly into harm's way with Russia and all of its allies? What is he trying to accomplish? And the only thing that I can think of is that, and they've said it, Assad had to be punished. You know, the question comes to your mind, who appointed Donald Trump to be the global spanker-in-chief for any dictator or leader of a country that misbehaves? If there were some kind of existential threat, some horrible, immense, powerful, terminal threat to our existence, maybe that would be a justification for what we have. Instead of an existential threat, we have less of a threat than we've had since 1917, when Wilson foolishly put us into the First World War. And let's just tick off what is out there. The first one, obviously, is Russia. So how do they threaten the security or the safety of anybody in America unless you think Putin is foolish enough to risk nuclear retaliation by attacking us first? There's nothing that the Russians are going to do that remotely threatens us. China is the same thing, but they aren't a threat to us, and frankly, they're not a threat to any of their neighbors either, because they depend on a huge supply of raw materials coming up through the South China Sea into their ports. And frankly, we don't have to get that excited about the terrorism threat either. And if we wanted to do something about it, that's the third item, we ought to stop bombing and droning and occupying, because it's the blowback from that that's created what does exist today as a terrorist threat. So it leads to the system to keep itself alive leads to what I call endless false narratives, because if there isn't an enemy, if there isn't an imminent threat, then over time it becomes hard to justify all of this money that is being wasted in this massive system. I turned on cable news Thursday night, and you couldn't find anything from MSNBC to CNN to Fox that said anything different. They were all saying the same thing. They were in war heat. They're all paid by the same paymaster, which I call the warfare state, because there is a totally different view on what's going on in the world if you get your lens right, and if you're not part of this overwhelming groupthink consensus that is literally suffocating the machinery of government, the machinery of the mainstream media. Maybe there's a silver lining in this latest capture of Trump by the deep state, this utterly stupid attack on Syria, and that is maybe it will help revive a coalition, anti-war coalition in the Congress. So at least there's some glimmerings of hope, but frankly, the warfare state is suffocating Washington. The war machine is bankrupting and draining the fiscal and economic resources of America, and the hour is getting late.